Okay, so I am so excited that all of you are here. And, it's been a bit of a challenge through the past year of keeping this Course in Miracles going every week. And it couldn't go without all of you. And I'm really grateful. And I'm so happy. Some of you have been attending for the past 7, 8 years, and some of you come sometimes, some of you come every week, but regardless, I'm so grateful, because if we don't do this, then I can't sit here and just lecture to myself. So, and we're all teachers. I'm just choosing to be in charge of the meeting, and make sure it happens every week, but we're all teachers. And some of you have, been studying the Course in Miracles for a long time, and some of you are new to it. But tonight, I thought I would talk about fear, because I don't think most of us realize how much fear we have all the time. And sometimes it's really it's important to have it, because something's actually wrong. And for example, if you feel a real serious pain in one of your joints, you're going to have maybe a certain amount of fear, and that fear is your signal that something's wrong, maybe, and you need to get it checked out. Or maybe you sense that something, it doesn't seem quite right, and you think about it, and, oh my God, I forgot to turn off the stove before I left the house. So there's a certain amount of fear, very, very, very minute amount, but there's a certain amount of fear that's healthy and good, and you're supposed to have it. It's a reaction in you that says, alarm, alarm, red light, red light. Sometimes it's yellow light, but it's supposed to be there, and it's healthy, and it's good, because it's your signal that something is wrong or could be wrong. But that, in a day is like one minutia of the day. It's very, very, very inconsequential and insignificant. What we're not aware of is all this other fear that we carry all the time. And it's because our ego doesn't want us to see that what we're really experiencing is fear. Our ego wants us to think that, something is wrong, or there is a problem, and or there'll be a problem. And I want to tie this in tonight with addictions, because the ego is very, very masterful at disguising our fear when it comes to letting go of addictions. And so we don't even realize that we're addicted to everything. I mean everything. We get addicted to having to wait in line. We get addicted to, having to have an alarm wake us up. We get addicted to having to have things a certain way in our room. We get addicted to, the weather being a certain way. We get addicted to people not ever disappointing us. We get addicted to people, not showing up like they're supposed to. We get addicted to wanting things our way all the time. We get addicted to the right kind of coffee, the right kind of sheets, the right kind of water, the right kind. I mean, we are so addicted, we have no idea how addicted we are. If you don't think you are, take something in your room and put it in a different place. Switch to a brand that you don't like. Try something new, and you'll find out your ego's going to go, And so I'm bringing this up not to make anybody feel bad or wrong. It's just a whole nother level of consciousness that I've realized, that I think I'm so spiritual, and I think I'm so in the love. But at the same time, I notice that, I find myself, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and why didn't they make it this way, and why in that car in front of me going that, and that conversation is constantly going on, and I've never really realized that that's the addict. I want it my way, or it's unacceptable. And then when I have that thought, and I don't glance past it and say, oh, what a beautiful palm tree, then I get locked into it, and then I start having these feelings, I start having these reactions, and then I get distracted, and I get pulled into the ego, and all of this is based in fear. Fear that I shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable. and fear that if I feel my feelings of discomfort, then something really bad's going to happen. So I'm addicted to not feeling. Or in some cases, people get addicted to feeling. If they're not in a state of drama and trauma all the time, they'll find something to put themselves there so that they feel alive. Or in the other extreme, I don't want to feel anything at all, so I want everything to be exactly like it's supposed to be all the time. So a lot of us live in between these two extremes, and we don't even realize that it's fear underneath all that. The fear is that if I embrace the reality as it is, if I accept things as they are, who am I in all of that? And what will happen? And the ego is constantly, we don't even realize it. They have, they've exposed how we are subliminally conditioned, and they can't do it anymore. But earlier in the movies, they used to have advertisements, and they would flash these subliminal messages across the screen, and you would notice there was some kind of blurb going across there, but you'd say, oh, it's just a mistake or whatever. But actually, it would say things like, hungry, eat popcorn. It would say, best chocolate, and you wouldn't realize what it was saying, but your brain was registering it and your mind was picking up on it, and you would be thinking without even realizing it, I want some popcorn, I want some chocolate covered raisins, I want a Coca-Cola. And it was subliminal advertising. And they also did it in department stores. They would be playing music, but then they would be putting those messages, I want a new dress, I want new shoes, I want a new jacket. And you didn't even realize you were being programmed. And our ego does the same thing. It doesn't allow us to realize that it's constantly giving us subliminal messages. 100% of the time, it's giving us certain messages. I want. And if I'm not having, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. And we don't realize that if we don't even question what it's constantly doing to us. From the moment we wake up in the morning, it's planning how the day's supposed to be, rather than letting the day just unfold into itself and enjoying every moment of it. And we get angry and we get guilty, and we're frustrated and upset and sad and depressed. And then we call it, depression and anxiety. And really, it's nothing more than fear turned into those emotions, because we haven't come to terms with the fact that we really aren't all these things, and nothing has to be any certain way. We can be happy no matter what if we recognize that fear is controlling us and we choose love instead. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by, first of all, facing that you're running on fear, and then you start identifying the fears. I'm afraid of blank. And let's just say you wake up in the morning and you feel gripped with anxiety, which millions and millions of people do. And so you say, wait, that's fear. I'm not going to call it anxiety. I'm going to call it fear. What am I afraid of? And almost always there's something in the past. It has nothing to do with right now. There's memories in the past, and you're projecting them now into what's going to happen today in a particular situation. It could be something as simple as the weather. I'm going to be stuck at home all day. Well, rather than I'm going to be stuck at home all day, oh good, I have a day today to take it easy, to catch up on my reading, to catch up on other stuff, to make some phone calls, to send out love to somebody who needs a nice, kind word of encouragement. We change our perception. But most of us don't even realize that we're just feeling that fear all the time. And when it comes to like giving up an addiction, we don't realize the reason we don't give it up is because we're afraid of what we'll find out when we give it up. Like, what's going to replace that void? How are we going to deal with that void that addiction covered up? And so when we start to really understand it, and understand that fear keeps us engaged in the addiction, like, first of all, I don't want to face it that I have the addiction, because that's uncomfortable, scary. But then when we say, okay, I'm going to face it that I have the addiction, and what am I going to do about it is the next question. So many people face it, that they have the addiction, but then they don't ask the next question: what am I going to do about it? A Course in Miracles teaches us that if we rely on our own strength, we have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. And so if we want to really and truly be able to be without that fear, we have to draw on that other part of ourselves, the love that's within us, what the Course calls the Holy Spirit. And there is that other side of us that has the answers. We just have to be willing to listen to them and then follow the guidance. And when we learn how to do that, when we learn to exchange some type of fear, and we give up the addiction and we replace that addiction with something of love, that emptiness in there fills up. It fills up with the self-esteem. It fills up with the sense of it feels so good to do the right thing. It fills up with the burden of being lifted. It fills up with warm feelings of, thank God that's over. It fills up with new experiences, with new friends, with new activities that are healthy rather than unhealthy. And it kind of snowballs into more and more and more self-love. But some people spend so much time fighting and resisting and not wanting to face that they're afraid. And if they do, not wanting to do anything about it, that they stay all blocked up and all bottled up. And that's the ego. That is the pure ego saying, don't make any changes, don't do anything different, just keep right on going like you're going. You deserve this. Don't pay any attention to that. Don't listen to the inner truth that's trying to reach you. Don't listen to those little messages inside of you that say, are you sure that's the right thing? Go ahead and blow it off. And all these other things that the ego will tell you to do, because the ego's goal is to get rid of you. It's telling you, it wants you to do something good for yourself, something to make you feel safe and secure. But believe me, the last thing the ego wants for you is to feel safe and secure. The ego wants you to feel so scared that you get so constricted within the ego, within what I call the box, that no light can come in. And when you get to that point, you're miserable. And I assure you, if you're miserable, you are under the mercy of the ego and not your Holy Spirit. You get miserable. And the whole purpose of that is it wants you to give up. It wants you to say, there's no reason to be here. This is a crappy planet. I had somebody in my office say today that this world is terrible. It's never been so bad. And yeah, you can find evidence to support that. But, sometimes it's like redecorating your house. You take everything out, you tear down walls, you tear out the appliances, there's wires hanging out everywhere, and if somebody walked in, they would say, this is awful, it's never going to look good. But then gradually that chaos turns into perfection, and then you have a new home, and everything has a new place and a new order. And I'm not talking about the New World Order, please. I'm not political. I don't want to be political. Just a new order in your home, and it feels so good. But you had to go through facing that, your TV was broken or your dishwasher was broken, and we have to face that parts of us are broken. And we're living in that brokenness. And so, yes, sometimes it's chaotic to face that. But the Course teaches us that there's nothing to fear, and that our safety lies in being vulnerable, because we are not really vulnerable. We think we are because our ego tells us we are. So when we lean into those emotions, when we fall into the fear, and we face it, and we let it swallow us whole, then we realize there isn't anything to be afraid of. We have an inner light. We have a light within us. It is so strong, and it is so powerful that all you have to do is just like be in a totally dark room with no light coming on. You only have to turn on the switch, and you can see everything so clearly. The same thing with our spirit, with the love that's within us. When we're in the darkness, when we're in the fear, when we're consumed with all this panic, all we have to do is say, I'm in a dark room. I'm scared to death. All I have to do is turn on the light. Turning on the light is when we ask the Holy Spirit to help us. And you know, I can tell you sometimes I have been in such a state and my ego's gotten me so worked up, it will find one little piece of evidence, which isn't really evidence at all. But it'll find one little tiny thing or one little piece of evidence, and then it creates this whole movie. And it's never a love story movie, it's a nightmare movie. And it'll say, this person's saying this, and this person doesn't like me, and this person's doing that to me, and this blah, 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 blah. And it just goes on and on and on. And so when we turn on the light, we recognize what our ego's doing to us. And we begin to say, that's my fear, but is it real? Is it true? And even if it is, what am I going to do about it? What can I do differently? How can I bring love into this situation? I don't have to have it be any certain way. It's however it is, and it's perfect the way it is. I don't have to have you be any different. So when I sometimes when I get in those states, I'll just say, God, please help me. I've really gotten myself out. I'm really out there with these thoughts. Please help me. And I'll be saying, where's the help? Where's the help? Where's the help? And I'll be feeling it, feeling the fear. And why aren't you helping me? Why aren't you helping me? And I'm feeling the fear and and all of a sudden I'll be thinking, what am I going to have for lunch today? And the help already came. It was that simple. I forgot about it. I was out of the pain. I was out of the misery. I wasn't even thinking about the catastrophe or the perceived catastrophe or the fear-based paranoia. It was gone. It was like, what am I having for lunch today? Who should I call next? You know, and I'm not even realizing because I'm expecting some kind of boom light kind of thing, and you know, some kind of I'm going to be elevated off the ground, and we don't realize how much our Holy Spirit is helping us. It's not a big deal. It's just the willingness to ask for that light. It's just a willingness to turn on the switch, and it's so simple. And then we get the solution. Like, it was removed. You know, I asked for the help and it got removed. And I'm sitting there going, when are you going to remove it? When are you going to remove it? It's kind of like you order an Uber, the Uber pulls up, you were picturing in your mind it was going to be a red Ford, and what comes up is a blue sedan, and you're sitting there going, when's it coming? When's it coming? When's the Uber coming? And it's been sitting in your front yard the whole time. Well, that's not what I thought it was going to look like, you know? So the ego is very clever, because it doesn't want us to see that we've turned on the light and the light has come in. But I assure you, if you try this, you will find out that you have all the light that you need. You have all the proof that you need, that you are loved, that you are loved. And all you have to do is be the love that you want. I was recently in talking with someone who I've had some kind of prickly stuff with, and it was kind of like, you know, but you know, so why don't we just pretend like we have a healthy relationship? And what would that look like, you know? And it just helped to bypass all those past barriers and all. And the person said, okay. And, you know, we just talked about our feelings, and there was no accusations, there was no blame, and the ego was put to rest for a while. And, you know, that's the miracle. That's the change in perception that the Course in Miracles talks about. We cannot deal with our fear. We are incapable. It was put in us early on, and we got hurt, and we were in pain, and we can't do anything about that. But we can turn on the light switch when we have the fear. And all we have to do is ask the Holy Spirit for help. And when we do that, we open up the love, and the truth comes out, and the light goes on. And then we, you know, the more you do this, all of a sudden you'll find that you're riding in neutral, and when those dips come, and they can be deep, you're still in neutral. It's the most freeing, wonderful feeling in the world. And you all of a sudden you realize, like, you're not under the control of that anymore. It's still bombarding you, but you're just not even watching that channel anymore. And that dip comes and you go, gee, I'm just in a dip right now. How about that? What can I gain from this to be more loving? And you start to feel that sense of that you've probably like a child, who walks their first steps and they're not falling anymore, and they're like, "Look at me, God! Your method worked. Your way of teaching me actually worked," and it's such a freeing, wonderful experience. So that's all I'm going to talk about fear tonight, and just remember that we always have the choice, fear or love, and whenever you're thinking about, trying to get something and you're feeling those reactions, be into those feelings, turn on the light and ask love to help you. If you don't believe in Holy Spirit, that's fine. All of us know that love exists. Ask love to help you. And what I'd really like you to kind of be more aware of, and between now and next week, is that, hi Facebook people, so happy to see you. What I'd really like to see you guys do is just be more aware of how pervasive the ego will subtly, kind of keep you in that little boxes of fear. And within the box, there's millions of other little boxes, but it's all fear. And thank you so much. And I'm really happy. And now I want to hear your experiences, because you're the teachers. I'm just leading the group here, but you're the teachers. And we all need to hear from each other, because it's those real life examples that inspire each other. And as teachers, we're here on a mission on this planet. And we want to be able to share that mission and to be able to share and receive that love. And even when, someone comes in here like last week and they're attacking us, or someone comes on with very graphic unsolicited photos of their privates, that we can send love, and not respond with anger or fear, that we can send love. And so please, all of you now, please share your experiences with how the course has helped you with fear. You have to unmute your mic if you're going to talk.
Hi there. It's Barbie. I don't know how we do this. You just start talking, or you raise your hand, or.
Well, there's at the bottom there's a thing that says chat, and it'll put a little hand up, but people just kind of jump in too. Go for it.
All right. Well, what a great talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're really so funny tonight. So real, it's so relevant, and that's one of the things that I love about the course, is that it is meant to be applied to our everyday living, and it really works. And I loved hearing you say several times, ask the Holy Spirit for help. So when I feel disturbed, I say, Holy Spirit, please heal my fear-based thought about, and whatever it is. And sometimes it's pretty interesting because I don't know what it is. I just know my feeling. I'm agitated. I feel afraid. That's more of my go-to emotion: fear, afraid. I'm scared. I'm sad, more than angry. It's all fear, like you said. But when I have those feelings, I say, Holy Spirit, please help me with this fear-based thought about. And just doing that helps me to clarify my thoughts. It helps me to take a step back from being so engaged in it. And then just wait, like you said, wait. And it often doesn't come in any kind of form that I thought it would. the peaceful feeling, or a person shows up, or a phone call, or mostly it's a peaceful feeling, and a sense of direction that feels certain. The course has helped me so much. I'm really so grateful. I used to be in a constant state of anxiety. And you mentioned having anxiety in the morning. I don't know if that's more common with most people, and I don't really understand that. Why, when I used to wake up in the morning, I would be damn near having a panic attack. And now I don't have that, hardly ever. Hardly ever. I have fear when I have a fire in my house, and I have fear when my dog has Lyme's disease. But it's legitimate, fear, worldly fear. But that free-floating anxiety is all but gone. And gosh, it's such a blessing, and that's why I am a devoted Course in Miracles student, and I love this class.
And you have plenty of reasons to have anxiety because you've made a major move, a major life change. You're building a whole new business and a spiritual retreat center and got 2 new dogs. And so there's a lot of triggers there. And so to be able to ride the roller coaster, and it's all the same, the down is good and the up is good. And
yes. Well, you helped me a long time ago when you said lean into it. Like that's so counterintuitive. Lean into it. But I do. And it is the way. It is the way to peace. Is to allow power greater than myself to assist me by facing it. So
yes. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable. Like, who says we're supposed to feel 100% zen all the time? And so every time we get anxious, we're like, oh my God, where's my comfort? Rather than, so what, I'm anxious. It's just happens. And then the more we just embrace it and close our eyes and just be with it, the fear, then, the more it just kind of like has less and less control over us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Jess, you had your hand up? You have to unmute your mic.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
So this meeting was like a miracle for me, and definitely like a reason why I came. I am in Al-Anon, and I am in a step study currently. And it is an Al-Anon meeting, but it's based around the big book. And I just completed on Sunday my fear inventory. And and when I tell you that this was an amazing compliment and definitely the reassuring, in my belief and my journey that, this is what's going to help. And I've seen it help. But I think for me, turning to God was hard, just because of my pre-exposed belief, other people's beliefs of what, if you do that, afraid, being fear of God, basically. And getting past that is truly, freeing and a whole new perspective. But setting aside all of what we've learned and what we know, basically, to adopt a new idea is fear. Everything is fear. Fear is driving all of our motives. And I'm afraid of, and whatever fear is stronger is the fear that wins. I'm afraid of the water, of going in the ocean, but if my kids are going to go in the ocean, I'll go in the ocean because I'm afraid of them being in there alone more than I'm afraid of fear of the ocean. So it's really mind-opening to think of it like that. And then you almost have more of an awareness, like you were saying, of when it does pop up and what exactly is going on. And putting emotions to it helps me. We had an emotions wheel and picking out, what emotions and bringing it back down to the base fear and working through that. And it's amazing. And I'm so grateful for this meeting and for everything. Thank you.
Well, we hope you'll come back, and thank you.
Oh my God, I'll be back next Wednesday. I'm going to write it on my calendar.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Polly, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was in my 40s, I was diagnosed by a psychiatrist with generalized panic disorder and put on Xanax. And, I thought that was the be-all, do-all, erase of anxiety. And until I got I've been in the course with you before and been a dropout, and my anxiety got worse. And if I had found you in the course in my 40s, no psychiatrist on this earth would have convinced me to take Xanax. Because once I faced the fact that anxiety is only fear, which they didn't tell me that at the time, and I didn't know what that fear was, but once I faced the fact that there is a fear that lives inside of all of us, it makes it easier to deal with the anxiety. So you have helped me tremendously with that, and therefore it has helped me to not rely on medication for everything. And that's why I'm committed to doing whatever I can to make it easier for me to live on this earth and be the best person I possibly can. And my next goal in life is to hopefully become a sober coach. So that's a commitment.
You're finding
that I've
your
made
purpose.
to myself.
You're finding your purpose, and if you hadn't had all these previous experiences, you wouldn't be able to be as effective in helping other people. Right, Mary?
Very, very true.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Who's next?
I have some things. Back when I first started the Course in Miracles many years ago, it taught me that there are two types of fear that I have. One is real and one is imagined. I can make the imagined fear become real in my perception of what's going on in my life and how much stock I place in the imagined fears, how much I'm trying to prevent those fears from running my life. And all of a sudden I get on the roller. You talked about the roller coaster, up and down, up and down, up and down. I didn't like the going up, but I also hated the going down part. And once it was over and I had to get off, I was like, well, I don't want to get off. I want to get back on again because I like the drama, I like all the excitement and all the other crazy stuff that goes along with that. So therein itself, the fear was creating an addiction. Early before I got into recovery, my fears were paralyzing, but they also got me motivated. The motivation was to run away from things, not to face things, and to avoid issues. Well, if I don't interact with it, then maybe it'll go away soon. And of course, there was always waiting around the corner every time I poked my head. So it was a futile attempt to avoid issues. The paralyzing part was that it kept me from being motivated and doing things. Mostly the things that I needed to do that would put me on a correct path. But as I continued to study and continued to practice spirituality, and more importantly, when I first got into recovery, that's when I started the Course in Miracles and began to grow my spirituality, recognizing, and you helped me with this a lot along that path, was recognize what's real and what's not real, and then focus on the real fears, begin to slowly face them and not embrace them, but just recognize them, how big they are. But be willing to take a risk that you can get through whatever fear it is. And I found myself doing things today that I never imagined that I would be able to do. Yeah, taking phone calls that I don't want to take, making phone calls that I don't want to take, answering the door, opening up my mail. All that stuff. I'd get a handful of mail and it would just go in the trash, and someone would call up and say, well, you're late on your bills. I go, well, I never got it. So
I never got it.
Yeah, I never got
Never
it.
saw the bill.
So, that the avoidance of all that. But the course has given me courage. It's given me the ability to stand up and recognize that I can face things, and more importantly, I don't have to face them alone. And that was the biggest hurdle for me. My life was predicated on I have to do all this all by myself. The introduction into the Holy Spirit, that my Holy Spirit's always going to be there and always going to stand by my side. I'm always going to have that to rely on, not only my fellow brothers and sisters in recovery, but also the people in the rooms that I come to, but also recognizing that there is a power out there that I can call on whenever and how often I need it. The more I take advantage of that, the more I begin to grow, begin to take bigger risks. And there's not anything that I can't do today. And I've learned to change the words from can't to I don't want to or I do want to. It's not about I can't do things. I can do whatever I need to do, whatever I want. It's whether or not I'm willing to do the things, and then it becomes a choice. And that's what the course has given me, is given me the ability to make a choice, recognizing that if the choice is not a good one, I find out it's not good, that I can make another choice. So this is eye-opening and inspiring for me, because it gives me personal growth, but also the ability to give away what is given to me and share this gift that I have with other people. This is what we do here. So, anyhow, I'm excited to be back and excited. Not so much. I'm not in fear of what the future holds anymore. I'm relishing the moment where I am. I don't worry about what's going to be in the future.
Thank you.
I was always in fear of the future and regretful of the past. So I didn't live today. So thank you for the inspiration for today.
Thank you, Kim.
I'll share a little bit.
Good.
Pretty sad today.
Tom, your mic is scratchy or something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it was a little scratchy.
Not now.
Scratchy.
Any change? No? I can change mics. Hold on a second. How about now?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, I have a new mic that has been working really well. I don't know what the problem is. I apologize. But I was starting to say, I lost a friend today.
Oh.
And
What happened?
I don't know yet.
But when you said you lost a friend, did the person pass on?
He died, yeah.
Oh.
And a couple of you might know him, Dr. Rotundo.
He's a psychiatrist?
He's a psychiatrist and has been, just a hero in this community here for decades, and has helped a lot of people, and has become a friend over the years. And he's gradually aged, and I don't know what happened to him, but he started to get sick over the last couple months and passed. So I found out about that in the middle of the day, in the middle of a busy day with clients, and So I'm sorry. I've been distracted and taking phone calls and stuff. I haven't really been able to concentrate on this, but just somebody who I grew to really love.
Yeah.
And a great doctor and a friend, so I'm just sad.
Well, I'm glad you're embracing all that and you're not fighting it. You're not afraid of it.
Yeah. Well, I have actually, I've called people and told them I was sad today, and just, even doing that here, is a relatively new skill for me over the last few years of my recovery. It took me a long time to be able to share when I feel lonely, when I feel sad. Something about sadness in my family for the guys has always been really taboo. So it is. It's a
Big
big
boys
deal
don't cry.
What's that?
Big boys don't cry.
Yeah, but beyond that, just if you're sad, we'll destroy you, ridicule you. And I watched a lot of that growing up. I had an older sister who, was grieving the loss of a husband, and she would cry every day. And essentially the way they dealt with it was they would ridicule her, just not warm and understanding. So I learned at a really young age, man, you don't show that at all or you'll be destroyed. So, my family's a lot better now, but it's taken me a while to get past that. But yeah, so I'm glad to just be able to claim it and to, be sincere in a meeting like this instead of trying to talk about something that I'm just not in that place. To just be honest and say I'm sad. So I'm happy to be here.
Not afraid to say you're sad.
No.
And to show it. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
I can share. Thank you. Thank you for opening it up. It's a big topic because it's, I was raised on it, and like a lot of people were, and had a lot of things to tackle. One was to go get a car, buy a new car, and there were a lot of voices to tell me to be afraid to go in, but it was another one going, nah, you're going to be fine. Just relax. You're going to be able to walk through this, because I always had there were these voices like, oh my God, you're going to get, eaten alive if you go in as a woman to go buy a car. And anyways, I actually had a really good time over at the dealership, and basically, was made friends with everybody in there, the salesperson, the manager, it was just genuine. It wasn't all for the sale. I didn't feel that it was. And I just kind of honored what was coming up for me, and I'd done my research before I went in as best I could, and I knew of the warnings, and I said, oh, well, I'm going to need a higher power for this. The warnings on what packages to add and what not, and should I sell my car, the one that I went in with, to them or not, and it's been a process, because I swear to God, that was Monday, and I went in at 4, and I really felt assisted, like the energy was all really, really good. And I didn't have to be afraid. I somehow just felt assisted with the numbers they were giving me and the numbers I was giving them and the thoughts that were coming through me. And I swear to God, I closed up the doors. It was midnight and I was tired. And then yesterday I had to deal with talking about, what I added, what I should I have, and I got a few opinions just to brainstorm it all with my mechanic, with a finance guy from another company, and my ex-husband who had a lot of points. And but I can see how most of the time people are afraid before they even see what you did. They're like, oh no, you didn't do this alone, did you? Are you out of your mind? So again, I knew that when I spoke with the people that I wanted like a little bit of feedback from, because I knew I still have a little time if I want to remove a package or not. I knew that they might be like freaked, and I I feel like just doing this Course in Miracles, I just kept repeating. I put a lot of energy into the Course in Miracles like all last week and generally anyways, and then this week before I walked out the door, before I went to the dealership, I was listening to some Course in Miracles, I was reading, and I was like, well, if this doesn't work, well, so be it. But it was really helpful. I really did feel a presence and help around it, and and I had to go back in today, and the recommendation was, you should have sold your old car while you were there on Monday. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back in today and we'll see if I can get that done. And the guy wanted to work with me, but believe me, I got a lot of, oh no, you didn't do it. So I just want to say everything actually did unfold very well. I just kept, and it was strange because I was actually having a bit of really an honest dialogue with the manager, about being present, about being here now, and what I needed, what I was, what I wanted from him, I said, I want to be happy when I leave this place. So I want you to hear me and make sure that I'm happy with what I'm, the transactions I'm making. So I want to make sure it fits. So are you going to work with me? And he's like, for you, I'm going to work with you. He was just responding nicely, and it was fun. And
so for you, buying a car was a very scary experience, and you consulted your inner Holy Spirit, you talked to other people, and you worked through that fear.
Oh yeah. And I've never done it before.
And we're able to feel more confident about your choice and your decision. Mm-hmm. It's a great example. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, we have like 1 more minute. Anybody want to share anything? Jess wrote on the board here, fear plus false evidence appearing real.
Supposed to say equals. Fear equals.
Fear equals false. Real. Yeah, FEAR, the first letter of false evidence appearing real. Yes. Love that. And then she wrote, so sorry for your loss. I think that's directed to Tom. Yeah, it's very hard to lose those long-term connections that have been built on a lot of trust and a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I love all of you, and I really am so grateful that you're here and that you keep this going, and have a wonderful miracle-filled week. And next
Love
week
you too, Donna.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Love you,
Love
Mary.
you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Love
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone, for sharing and being here. This is amazing. I will see you next week.
Love you, Tom.
Love
Thank
you.
you, Donna.
Have a good night.
Good
Everyone
night.
have a great week. Tom, sorry for loss.
Absolutely.
You too.
We're feeling you. Thank you for sharing. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.